And so he has another downer. And look in chapter 12. You're always righteous, O Lord, when I bring a case before you, yet I would speak with you about your justice. Why does the way of the wicked prosper? Why do all the faithless live at ease? You've planted them and they've taken root. They grow and bear fruit. You're always on their lips, but you're far from their hearts. But God gives him a wonderful answer. And the answer is for me, and the answer is for you. Please look at verse 5. Instead of God saying, Jeremiah, I sympathise with you, the going is tough, I'll see if I can't give you a vacation. This is what God says. Jeremiah, if you've raced with men on foot and they've worn you out, how can you compete with horses? If you stumble in safe country, how will you manage in the thickets by the Jordan? What on earth is he saying? If you can't keep up with people who are not on horses, what are you going to do when you're fighting people who are on horses? And if you're troubled when you live in a land that's comparatively safe, what are you going to do when the Jordan overflows and floods and you're in danger of being drowned? So it is saying to me and saying to you, beware of magnifying little problems. The biggest ones are yet to come. Beware about complaining about rivulets of trouble, because the floods are yet to come. We're a sensitive lot. Even if I get a splinter in my finger, I find it difficult to concentrate on what I'm doing. That splinter. And I don't like the pain of taking it out. Or we hear something that someone has said and it rankles in us. How can they be so unfair? How can they be so unjust to say things like that? We are all troubled by little things. To be human is to live in difficulty. To be human is to be threatened by disappointments and frustrations every day of our life. Many of them come from inside us. Remember, Moody said, I have more trouble with myself than any other man I've ever met. So many of our troubles come from within us. The rest come from people. They don't usually come from earthquakes. Most of our problems don't usually come from floods or tornadoes. I was reading an encyclopedia the other day. If I remember the figure correctly, it said all the earthquakes of history recorded have resulted in 13 million deaths. But World War I resulted in about 10 million armed services deaths and about 10 million civilian deaths. And World War II resulted in 50 million deaths. It is now estimated that if you want to be safe in the next war, join the army, because it's 7 times more dangerous to be a civilian now than to be in the armed forces. We do live in a dangerous world. I've quoted to you before Alexander Maclaren, one of the greatest preachers who ever lived. He said, I sometimes wonder how godless people confront the facts of life and don't go mad. Here we are, feeble, alone, naked, and at birth we're thrown into a whirlpool from the awful vortices of which we can't extricate ourselves. And around us there foam and swirl all kinds of evils, some of them certain, some of them probable, many of them possible. No wonder he says, I wonder godless people don't go mad. And I may have told you one that was written up by Lord Cecil when he was writing on William Cooper, often known as Cowper. He says William Cooper's nervous disposition was not abnormal. People who are highly strung and finely balanced are more conscious that life is perilous, tragic, and surrounded with dangers. They are saved from being deceived by the good digestion of healthy people. Now, do you see what he's saying? He's saying that most people are fairly healthy, while their digestion is good, they can't imagine evil. They think everything's good. Digestion's good, God's in his heaven, all's right with the world. It's all right, mate. Everything's okay. Everything's okay. I remember once coming from the States, and I was in New Zealand, and greeting the bus driver, asked him how he was, and he gave a reply something like this: "Everything is just great, mate. Everything's just great, mate." You know. Well, I don't know whether he listened to the news or read the papers or had no relatives. But the facts of life are usually not that great. This life is a school, it's not a playground. The teachers, you know, you've heard of the University of Hard Knocks. Colours of the school are black and blue. School cry is ouch. Because the best teacher's pain, and it's the one we least like, but it's unavoidable. Unavoidable. So this book is so realistic when it tells us about these problems. And here in chapter 12, it's saying, look, school yourself not to be too upset by trifles. If you've run with the footmen and they weary you, how are you going to contend with horsemen? If in a comparatively safe land you feel a bit uneasy, what are you going to do when it floods? So you could paraphrase it and say, don't get upset by minor irritations. If you're still living and you can digest and walk and talk, you've got nothing to complain about. Remember that all life's problems are our educators. They're not really against us, they're for us. We just don't like our teachers. See? Very, very profound comment.